Racism, particularly against black individuals, is a deeply rooted issue that has persisted throughout history, shaped by a complex interplay of social, economic, and political factors. From the transatlantic slave trade to the Jim Crow laws, the historical context reveals a legacy of oppression and discrimination that continues to influence contemporary society. This video aims to provide an educational and thought-provoking exploration of these themes, encouraging viewers to reflect on the systemic nature of racism. Understanding the psychological factors that contribute to racial hostility is crucial. Fear, ignorance, and societal conditioning often fuel prejudice and discrimination. By examining these underlying reasons, we can begin to dismantle the stereotypes and biases that perpetuate racial tensions. It is essential to foster empathy and awareness, as recognizing the historical injustices faced by black individuals can lead to meaningful conversations and actions toward equality. Through this exploration, we hope to inspire a deeper understanding of racism's roots and promote a more inclusive and compassionate society. The fear of losing romantic partners often intertwines with racial jealousy, particularly in the context of societal stereotypes surrounding black men. These stereotypes frequently portray black men as hypersexual and possessing exceptional sexual prowess, which can evoke insecurities among white men. Such perceptions can lead to feelings of inadequacy and competition, as some white men may fear that their partners are more attracted to black men due to these exaggerated traits. This dynamic not only fosters racial jealousy but also perpetuates harmful stereotypes that reduce individuals to mere caricatures based on race. However, the rise of interracial relationships serves as a counterpoint to these fears, challenging the notion that attraction is solely based on race. As more couples from diverse backgrounds come together, they demonstrate that love transcends societal stereotypes and prejudices. This shift encourages a broader understanding of relationships, promoting acceptance and diminishing the insecurities that fuel racial jealousy. By recognizing the complexities of attraction and the impact of stereotypes, we can work toward a more inclusive perspective on love and partnership. The perception of physical superiority among black individuals has deep historical roots, often intertwined with societal fears and stereotypes. Historically, black physical strength was both admired and feared, leading to a complex narrative that has shaped societal views. This perception has often been exploited to justify discrimination, as the notion of black individuals being inherently stronger has been used to rationalize their exclusion from certain roles or opportunities, reinforcing harmful stereotypes. Such views have perpetuated the idea that black individuals are only valued for their physical capabilities, reducing their identity to mere athleticism rather than recognizing their full humanity. Additionally, some biological advantages attributed to black individuals, such as increased muscle fiber composition, have been sensationalized, further entrenching the stereotype of the superior athlete. While these traits may exist, they do not define an individual's worth or potential. By critically examining these perceptions, we can challenge the narratives that have historically marginalized black individuals and work toward a more nuanced understanding that celebrates diversity in all its forms, beyond mere physical attributes. The fear of genetic extinction among non-black individuals has historical roots that trace back to anxieties surrounding interracial marriage. Throughout history, many societies have viewed interracial unions as a threat to perceived racial purity, leading to widespread fears that such relationships could dilute or diminish the dominant racial group. This anxiety often stems from a misguided belief in racial superiority, where the mixing of genes is seen as a challenge to the established social hierarchy. The implications of genetic mixing have been exaggerated, with some arguing that it could undermine the perceived advantages of one race over another. These fears have significantly influenced laws and social norms, resulting in discriminatory practices such as anti-miscegenation laws that sought to prevent interracial marriages and maintain racial boundaries. Such legislation reflected deep-seated societal anxieties and reinforced segregationist attitudes. As we explore these fears, it becomes clear that they are rooted in a misunderstanding of genetics and a failure to recognize the value of diversity. Challenging these outdated beliefs is essential for fostering a more inclusive society that celebrates rather than fears genetic variation. The fear of cultural extinction among white individuals has become increasingly pronounced in the context of demographic changes that reflect a more diverse society. As populations shift and multiculturalism becomes more prevalent, some white individuals perceive these changes as a threat to their cultural identity and societal dominance. This sense of threat can lead to a psychological impact characterized by feelings of powerlessness and anxiety about losing cultural relevance. Such fears often manifest in a defensive posture, where individuals cling to traditional values and resist change, viewing diversity as a challenge rather than an opportunity for enrichment. This mindset can create a fertile ground for racist ideologies, as individuals may seek to justify their fears through the lens of superiority, believing that their culture is under siege. Consequently, these ideologies can lead to the scapegoating of minority groups, fostering division and hostility. By understanding the roots of these fears, we can address the underlying insecurities that fuel racism and promote a more inclusive dialogue that values cultural exchange and coexistence. Rather than viewing diversity as a threat to be feared, the anxiety surrounding economic and social replacement is deeply intertwined with the historical privileges enjoyed by white individuals. For centuries, systemic advantages have allowed white communities to dominate economic, political, and social spheres, often at the expense of marginalized groups. As society progresses and movements for equity gain momentum, these privileges are increasingly challenged, leading to feelings of insecurity among some white individuals. The perception that their status is threatened by the rise of diverse populations can evoke fears of being economically and socially displaced. This anxiety is often exacerbated by systemic racism, which perpetuates disparities and reinforces the belief that competition for resources is a zero-sum game. As marginalized communities strive for equality and recognition, the narrative of replacement can emerge, framing these efforts as a direct threat to white individuals' livelihoods and social standing. Such fears can lead to resistance against policies aimed at promoting inclusivity and equity. By investigating these anxieties, we can better understand the dynamics of privilege and the importance of fostering a society where progress benefits all, rather than being perceived as a loss for some. Feelings of inadequacy can significantly fuel racial hatred, particularly among white individuals grappling with an inferiority complex. This psychological phenomenon often arises from societal pressures and expectations that equate worth with status, leading some to feel threatened by the achievements and visibility of marginalized groups. When white individuals perceive themselves as losing ground in social, economic, or cultural arenas, these feelings of inadequacy can manifest as hostility towards black individuals, whom they may unjustly blame for their perceived decline. This hostility serves as a defense mechanism, allowing individuals to project their insecurities onto others rather than confronting their own vulnerabilities. The impact of perceived superiority further complicates racial dynamics as it fosters a false sense of entitlement among some white individuals. This belief in inherent superiority can lead to dehumanization and discrimination, reinforcing systemic racism. By understanding how feelings of inadequacy contribute to racial hatred, we can begin to address the underlying psychological issues that perpetuate these harmful attitudes, promoting a more empathetic and inclusive society that values all individuals regardless of their racial background. The fear of losing social and political power among white supremacists is deeply rooted in the increasing diversity that challenges their ideologies. As societies become more multicultural, The traditional dominance of white individuals in various spheres is perceived as being threatened, leading to a defensive reaction among those who adhere to white supremacy. This perceived loss of control can have profound psychological effects, fostering feelings of vulnerability and desperation. White supremacists often interpret demographic changes as a direct assault on their identity and way of life, prompting them to cling more tightly to their beliefs. This fear can escalate into hostility and aggression as individuals seek to reassert their power through intimidation and violence. The potential for violence stemming from these fears is significant, as extremist groups may resort to acts of terror or hate crimes to maintain their perceived superiority. Understanding this dynamic is crucial for addressing the root causes of racial hatred and violence, as it highlights the urgent need for dialogue and education to dismantle the ideologies that fuel such fears and promote a more inclusive society. In summary, we have explored several key reasons behind the hostility directed towards Black individuals, including deeply ingrained societal stereotypes, fears of cultural and economic replacement, and the psychological impacts of perceived inadequacy and loss of power. These factors contribute to a complex web of racial tensions that perpetuate discrimination and violence. Understanding these fears is crucial in our collective effort to combat racism, as it allows us to address the root causes of hostility and foster empathy and dialogue. By recognizing the historical context and psychological dynamics at play, we can work towards dismantling the harmful ideologies that fuel racial hatred. We encourage you to engage with this important conversation by subscribing to our channel, liking this video, and sharing it with others. Raising awareness is a vital step in promoting understanding and inclusivity, and your support can help amplify these crucial discussions. Together, we can challenge the narratives that divide us and strive for a more equitable society where everyone is valued and respected regardless of their racial background. Thank you for being part of this journey.